So now, if you look at this, the practice the dharma goes very, very nicely with our practice of Shunya. And now you will realize that all of us who have been practicing Shunya for so long are exactly doing something that was taught 2,500 years ago by the Buddha himself and passed down in written records through sutras like the MAS, and thanks to the translators like Anshekar and Dr. Lim, that we have access to that, not to study, but to validate and verify whether what we are doing is right or wrong. And when we look at it, it makes a lot of sense for us to hold on to our practice of red belt, orange belt, yellow belt, green belt. And we know that these four belts that form the basic samatha vipassana part of our practice of Shunya are very important to help us to achieve that state of samadhi. And once you are able to bring that stillness in practice and you carry that stillness in your duty, in your work, in society, then you are actually experiencing life as it is. And when you experience life as it is, you see things as it is, and you know the power of vipassana. We saw how things arise, they sustain, and then they decay. And you saw that there's nothing to worry, because even if the good has come, we know it will not last long. It will someday go away, and we do not worry. Even the bad that has come, we know it is not going to last long, and someday it is going to go away, and we do not worry. Because we do not worry, we keep on doing a duty. And because we keep on doing a duty, I'm sure everybody will agree that prosperity knocks our door always and always, because we are the working people, we are the people who are engaged in our duties, our responsibilities, in whatever role we play. Namaste and very good morning to everyone. We are back after a short break last week because we were traveling with Dr. Lim and could not continue the MAS series. But today we are back, and today we are going to do chapter 5, the Maha Anapana Smriti Sutra. And it was originally a Sanskrit sutra from the region of north-west India, the Takshashila region, and Anshekar was the person who took in the efforts to compile the sutra, because this sutra may have been taught in different times, in different ways. So these compilation, if you look at it, when you study the sutra, you realize they are all clubbed together, notes after notes, and this compilation together was called the Maha Ānāpāna Smriti Sutra. And we should give credit and be grateful to Anshekar, the Persian king or a prince, who took in the effort to translate it from Sanskrit to Chinese. And it has remained in Chinese for so long. It has spread across China, Japan, Korea, and many other Southeast Asian countries. And thanks to our Dr. Lim, Acharya Nagajiva, that we got it translated back from Chinese to English, and that's what we are studying. And we are very grateful to Dr. Lim also, as this particular sutra is translated as it is, without his commentary or interpretation, and hence we get to have the same taste what Anshekar had while translating the sutra. We get the same material now at this time, and that gives us the ability to see exactly what the sutra wants to convey. So thanks again to Acharya Nagaji for taking the efforts from a busy life to bring this sutra to us, and thanks to SIF as an organization that we are able to spread this to everyone out there. Okay, so if you have seen the last 4 chapters that we have done, we studied in the first chapter about Buddha practicing Anapana. So Anapana, the practice basically comes from Buddha, and he himself was practicing it. So if you see, there is a verse there, it says, "O monks, I have performed Anapana mind focusing for 90 days to permeate the benevolence into the minds and thoughts of all beings." So even the Buddha, he practiced Anapana for 90 days. And no statue or a picture of Buddha, if you see, is doing anything else. But if you see, is always in the mode of practice, and that is dhyana. So practice is the school that we belong to. We also are practitioners first, and then we study about other things. But practice is our central way of reaching that state of mind of peace and clarity, so that prosperity becomes something that we can achieve. Then going to chapter 2, the Anapana and Smriti. We studied more about what is Ana, what is Apana, what is Smriti, and then we realized that all these three together is something that we have been doing in Sunya, the Samatha Vipassana, and we realized that we are on track in line with the Maha Anapana Smriti Sutra, and that's why it becomes very interesting. It becomes a guidebook, the MAS. Then we did was chapter 3, where we did counting of the breath, and we got introduced to the 6 gates, and we realized how systematically our belts match exactly with what's written in the MAS. So this is not a coincidence. Basically, maybe this is the way, this is the only way, as Buddha also says that Anapana is the only way through which one can achieve that peace of mind, that state where you are able to let go of all the kinds of attachment and never ever suffer again. Chapter 4, we studied about practicing the Anapana and Smriti. We talked about practicing it, and we learned how to practice it, what were the ways to practice it. A pretty deep and a long session we had, and I'm sure today what we are studying is a short session, but it's an important session, and the chapter goes by the name Practice the Dharma. Okay, so let's begin. First slide. O monks, while a monk practices the dharma, he should mind the basics. What are the basics? That is thought, mind, and consciousness. You see, when you're going into practice, from outside you're going in. You have already turned inwards. Now, most of the thing, your reverse counting, you're observing the breath, is all done internally. So, when we are talking about the basics, we are talking about the basics of the thought, the mind, and the consciousness also, the awareness that we are doing something. So all these three are going to come in the picture. When attachment occurred, it should be extinguished. Any point when you see that there is a kind of attachment that is occurring with a thought, like a thought comes to you and you get attached to it and you lose your count, you should extinguish that thought. You should not let that bondage happen. Okay, if you think a mind arises, something is disturbing you and something is happening to you, you should let go of that. Again, concentrate on the act that was given to you, your reverse count, observing the breath, following the breath, all those things. Then, even if you think that you're getting drowsy and losing consciousness, you should bring yourself up, awaken yourself. All these things that are there, the basics, these things, when they are getting disturbed, you should be able to extinguish all the disturbances and keep the practice on, the basics on. So when the attachment occurred, it should be extinguished. Let the above basics not arise by themselves. Making very clear. Try not to let these basics, both or all three, the thought, the mind, and consciousness, arise by itself. Practice up to this level of focused mind when it is according to the right practice of dharma. So not letting the thought, the mind, and consciousness arise by itself. How do you do that? How can I control a thought not coming in? How can I make sure that the mind doesn't wander? How do I know that I am not going into deep sleep or no drowsy? I'm just conscious right now, aware completely. How do I do that? Practice. Keep your focus and attention on your reverse count, on your double count, on your following of the breath. When you do that, the rest of the things don't happen automatically. So you can actually stop a thought if you continue an act of reverse counting, double count, and following the breath and observing the breath. So this is the only way, remember this, okay, that you can prevent the thought, the mind, and the consciousness from arising. And that is the right practice of dharma. So to make it simple, how do I practice the right dharma? Practice each level as it is, without wavering, without doing anything else. Practicing it as it is going to bring you into the practice, into a habit of practicing dharma in the right way. Okay, so Next slide. When the mind is extinguished, there is no more cause and conditions for the suffering to occur. Hence, the monk knows there is no more rebirth in the future. Let me read this again. When the mind is extinguished, okay, when there is no kind of disturbance, when the mind is able to be focused on what it is doing, it's not wavering anywhere. Now, when I say extinguished, it doesn't mean that the mind is dead or gone or finished. No, it means its basic nature, that what it had of remaining focused is achieved, and it's, you can say, the bad quality that it has of wandering here and there is lost. So naturally, the basic nature of the mind of remaining focused is achieved. That means the wandering mind has extinguished. Okay, that is what we know. Once we are able to achieve that, we realize that when the mind is not disturbed, when there is not a single disturbance in the mind, there is no cause that will give rise to any of the dharma. Because remember, we learned last time also, anything that will be born, okay, will sustain for some period of time and then die off. Okay, this is the cycle. This is the nature of things. Everything will be born, will someday die. Okay, and that means that when something is born in the mind, it will go through its own life cycle and then suffering will occur. And how do I get rid of that? I don't let it arise. I work at the level of the cause. No more cause and conditions, no more rebirth. Okay, hence we have to understand that how do I get rid of anything being born in future. Now let me give you a practical example. You see, addictions. Addiction, a person who is addicted, what is he doing? He actually starts his journey with something. Then he is dependent on it. Suddenly he is given birth to a desire. This desire has taken birth. Now this desire is going to sustain always. It's going to feed on itself. Every time it's going to ask that thing, same thing. Give you the same pleasure, the same happiness, but it's going to take you on the curve. It will sustain there and it will bring all the suffering because you are now attached to it. If you want to even detach, it doesn't allow you. Especially if you are on drugs, you realize that it's not easy to get off that. The attachment is very, very strong because all your senses are involved. And hence, when you want to get detached, it becomes nearly impossible. There are people who almost go to a point of committing suicide, just want to detach from the body itself. So that point is when rebirth keeps on happening every day, every time, again it's coming and again it's coming. How do I get rid of it? Make sure at the point when the cause is there and the conditions are being set for the cause to take manifestation into an effect, I stop it at that very point. I don't even indulge myself into forming this habit. Okay, very, very important. O monks, O monk, a monk must enhance the samadhi on a daily basis and gradually improve it. Sometimes achieve samadhi from breath counting, sometimes samadhi from follow of breath, sometimes samadhi from focusing samatha, sometimes samadhi from viewing vipassana. A monk just follows the cause and conditions of samadhi and keeps practicing. Result is not in our hand, but cause and creating the conditions are in our hand. When you sow the seed of cause, of right practice, of instilling samadhi as something that you want to achieve, that seed along with the conditions of practice will give you the result that we want. So we focus here. If you see, it's saying that a monk must enhance the samadhi on a daily basis. That means he has to keep on adding to that experience of samadhi on a daily basis. Every day he has to practice diligently and gradually improve it. How do you improve it? By practicing daily. Automatically things improve. Sometimes achieve samadhi from breath counting. So when you're doing a reverse counting, okay, you're doing a double counting, then you gradually realize that I'm able to do it easily. It's a point of ease that has come. So you know that you're already coming to a point of samadhi in that. And follow the breath. Sometimes samadhi from focusing. We only focus samatha. We realize that we are actually able to do that. That's samadhi. And sometimes by viewing, when you are able to view clearly what is happening, how the mind is getting lost, how you are losing your numbers, you are able to see things very clearly during your practice. You should know that you are also practicing samadhi of vipassana. A monk who just follows the cause and conditions, that means he just keeps his practice on, because practice is cause and condition, and the outcome will definitely be something that we are expecting here, is the state of samadhi that he acquires in all the situation. And so now we realize, how does one get the skill of attaining samadhi? By practicing daily, diligently. Every level of practice you should acquire samadhi. See, people, what they do, they want all the belts together. They want the red belt, they are so happy. Now they want the orange belt, then they think, oh, I want the yellow belt, then they want the green belt. They are running after belts. No, sometimes even until you are able to do your red belt very, very perfectly, that you are able to achieve samadhi in it, till the time you should not move on to the next. Then go to the next. Every time move up the ladder only when you have achieved samadhi. Now in Hindi there is a very beautiful word called samadhan, that is satisfaction. When you know for yourself satisfactorily that I have achieved this state of my red belt, I am able to count from 99 to 0 without losing a single count, without having a single thought disturb me, and I am able to completely bring my mind into a state of calmness. I have achieved that satisfaction, that samadhi. And that is what you should do with every belt. Remember, don't run after belts. Run after that experience of that stillness, that samadhi. Next slide. Oh monks, mindfulness of breathing sometimes can lead to craving. Why is it so? Sometimes you are only mindful of your breathing. It is so relaxing. It's so calming that we start desiring that. Many a times we just practice to experience that calmness, that peace, that serenity. So here it is saying that that can lead to another craving that can come automatically in you. Why is it so? Because a monk longs for samadhi and wants to feel the joy. When counting the in and out breath, the monk should extinguish the mind from craving of joy of samadhi. Now, even when you are able to attain that state of peace, serenity, stillness, or what we call samadhi, there is a kind of joy that comes in. Now, somebody asked, what is happiness? It's when all the suffering is gone, the state that we achieve is kind of happiness. So, what is joy? When you go to a state where their mind is not getting disturbed, you automatically like that state. You like that state of not being disturbed. That state is a state and it has to be watched as a state. If you start liking it and getting attached to it and wanting to do that only for that experience of joy, of that stillness, then you are also getting attached to samadhi. A craving has born, a desire has born. Okay. So what one has to do is, when counting the in and out of the breath, the monk should extinguish the mind from craving of the joy of samadhi. So at that very moment, when your mind starts craving for it, you need to extinguish this. How do you do that? You see, the practice is so smartly designed. You do the red belt. You are able to do 99 to 0. And now you have been doing it for a long time. You have achieved the state of samadhi and you think, wow, now I feel good. I can do 99 to 0. Now you're craving for it. At that very moment, we tell you, no, now you do forward count. You do double count. Now you're doing all the, I like that. No, but you do this. We put you on another journey. Now we tell you, you do this. Now this becomes another journey. You were doing reverse counting. You were happy. You were able to do it. But now you have to do forward counting, double counting. It's another new cycle that you're learning. The joy is not as it was in the reverse counting. Okay, in the red belt. Orange has its own challenges. You're going through that again and the loop is there. There's no target. So if you look at the practice, is very, very smartly designed so that you can achieve this state. So even you are not attached to the joy of every belt of samadhi that you acquire. Okay, that is what this practice is. So again and again I stress on the importance of practice. When breathing appears, the body is born. When breathing becomes extinct, the body becomes extinct too. Now here we all know, once a phenomena starts, it will always give rise to something, okay, and then it will die off. We know that is dharma. Now when breathing appears, whenever breathing appears, the body is born. Remember this. As soon as breathing appears, the body is born. When breathing becomes extinct, the body becomes extinct too. Both are one, actually. The breathing and the body. If there is no breathing, the body will also go away. Okay. You see, we don't know bacteria, fungi and all those come and eat us off. No, because we are still alive. We have our own, you can say, the immunity system that works. Breathing is there and hence the body is there. If there is no breathing, within no time you see all the bacteria and pounce up and there is no more body. So remember, breathing and body are interlinked together. Hence, you should say that the nature of our body is dependent on the nature of our breath. This awareness actually has not yet broken the suffering and the bondage of death and birth. Why is it so? Now, we know that this awareness of whenever there is breathing, the body is born. This awareness actually has not yet broken the suffering and the bondage of death and birth. There is a connection. Whenever there is breathing, the body is born. Whenever the body is born, there is going to be breathing. This cycle continues and suffering will be a part of it, because everything that will be born will die. In the process, the conditions are laid so that something is going to perish someday. And that is why suffering is inevitable with every birth that happens. And this cycle of suffering and the bondage of death and birth, okay, this cycle continues. Why is it so? Attaching joy and craving for samadhi is wrong practice. One should stop it. Even attaching to that breath. See, why they are saying is, wherever there is breathing, there is birth. The body will be born. Now, when you are practicing on breathing, and you start getting attached to breathing itself, and you start enjoying the breathing itself, you like it breathing itself, and you feel good observing the breathing itself. Now, breath becomes something that you attach with. That means the next time breath is going to come, because now you are attached with it. And with breathing, birth will come. Suffering will follow. So, even they are saying attaching joy and craving for samadhi is wrong practice. One should stop it. Even the attachment to breath practice, one should stop it. Samadhi should be achieved by itself and not some kind of achievement that the monk tries to pursue after. Samadhi is a outcome of your practice, the right practice. You cannot, crave or desire or run after trying to acquire a state called samadhi. It's not possible. So, Dr. Lim has put that as his comment in brackets. Anything that comes in bracket is the comment of the translator. Next slide. Oh monks, sometimes breath counting is fast. Breath following is slow. Sometimes breath counting is slow and breath following is fast. Why is it so? I don't know how many of you all who are practicing have experienced this. Okay. Now see, this is very, very subtle. Sometimes breath counting is fast, breath following is slow. Our mind, when we give him a job to go and count the breath, it is all ready to count the breath. Okay, it's just waiting. So when your breath goes in and out, 9. In and out, 8. Actually, it's not the breath is going normally. But look at the mind. Mind is just waiting to finish the count. Very, very just waiting. It's come, 9, 8, 7. It is fast. The breath counting itself is fast. It's not relaxed. You'll realize this when you go into subtle practice, that the excitement of the mind, it can be visible with the way it counts the breath. Okay. Breath following is slow. Sometimes when you're following the breath, you realize you're following the breath and you realize the mind is actually slow. The breath is moving fast and your mind is behind the breath. So the cycle, when you're looking at the breath going in and out and you're following it, you actually realize that the mind is behind it. It's not with it. you will realize that means the mind is slower than the breath itself. It cannot be faster because then you will not be able to follow it. So either you are behind it but not with it. Okay, so this subtle awareness you should have when you're practicing your Sunya. Sometimes breath counting is slow. Okay, when breath is happening, you're slow in counting it. Okay, it's happening. Sometimes it is fast, sometimes it is slow. So slow that when the breath is gone in and out, you have count 9. Like the initially, before it comes out, also you count 9. And then it comes out, again you count 8. Sometimes it comes out, it goes out, comes in, then you count 9. Means you are so slow in that window also, you're slow. If you're slow, you know that you're slow. Okay. And the breath following is fast. Sometimes breath following becomes faster. Before it goes, you're running before the breath. Okay. Either you're running behind or you're running before the breath. And our aim is to run with it. We have to count along with it. Okay. Not before, not after. Not fast, not slow. Why is it so? But why does this happen? When the mind is not confused during the breath counting, it becomes slow. Now it's giving a reason. When the mind is not confused during breath counting, it becomes slow. When counting is confused, it becomes fast. Naturally it is, because the mind is guarding there to count. When it is confused, it is always in that state that no, I might miss. It wants to count fast. Similarly for the breath following. Sometimes when the counting the breath and following the breath, the mind tries to differentiate. When counting and following the breath, the mind differentiates. When it does that, the fast and slow happens. That's why one must observe the in and out of the breath and focus on counting, not to lose it in the initial place. Again, that's why one must observe the in and out of the breath, focus on counting, not to lose it in the initial place. Never try to lose your counting. Go along in sync with your breath and keep your counting along with it. This is why it is said here. Okay. Next slide. O monks, after breath counting, practice breath following, mind focusing, observing, still do not get the samadhi, is due to karma from the past life, affecting the breath following, mind focusing and observing. Then one has to restart from breath counting again and repeat the practice. Now, many a times we want to see that we achieve the state of samadhi. We just studied now the red belt, the orange belt, the yellow belt, the green belt, all these levels. You have to achieve samadhi in different levels. Okay, you know that you are achieving that peace and serenity and calmness, and then you move to the next belt. Imagine a state where after breath counting, you're doing your counting, you're practicing the breath following, the mind focusing, and you're observing, all these things you're doing. Still you're not getting that state of samadhi. You're not able to achieve that. The reason behind that is a karma, the conditioning that you have gone through, the mind that has gone through, the past. When I say past life, remember, this moment and a previous moment and that, there was a life also. Now, and a minute before or 30 seconds before or even 10 seconds before, I was still there. Now I am here. So that past life is also past life. So past life is not this body and previous body. It's also moment after moment also. So every moment is passing by. And this moment right now is creating the conditions for the next moment to come. So this moment is, as soon as it goes to the next moment, this moment is a past life of mine. And if my karma of this past life is bad karma comes in, and we know what bad karma means. Bad karma means that when you act, think, do something with a very unstable mind, when that is done, that is bad karma. So if I'm not able to achieve samadhi is because of my bad karma of past life. Maybe I did something an hour before, a day before, month before, and that suddenly popped out as a thought, a disturbance, and just came in, and I'm not able to achieve samadhi. It could happen. And everybody who practices has actually experienced that the floods of thoughts and all those things come to us when all the experience that we have gone through, they keep on hitting us when we are trying to achieve the state of samadhi. So what do you do when such a thing happens? Then one has to restart from breath counting again. Go back to your red belt. Go back to basic. Until and unless you calm the mind down, you're able to do your 99 to 0 without getting disturbed. You should not move up. Many a times we have these 45 minutes and 1 hour sessions, long sessions. At that time, I have had a tough day, maybe a week. And I know the mind is already in turbulence. So when we start practicing and we want to sit for an hour, I start with 9 to 0, 29 to 0 and 99 to 0. Trust me, at times when the mind is so disturbed, for almost around say 60 minutes or so, an hour I'm sitting, I'm not able to do 9 to 0 completely. I know the state of mind, So I keep on doing it, 9 to 0, 29 to 0. I finish my 9 to 0. If I'm able to achieve, go to 29 to 0. Then I have my tough challenges. Well, everybody, openly says that they have finished all the 4 belts. I realize I did not even knock the door of the red belt. So sometimes this is the state, and that's what is reality. To accept what the state of our mind is at that very moment is very, very important in this practice. Because being true to yourself is actually seeing things as it is, and don't cheat yourself. What are you going to get by cheating yourself? When you know the mind is wandering and you say your mind is still, whom did you cheat? Me or you? Yourself. So always remember. So go back. Returning is one of the 6 gates. Remember the 5th gate is going back to ground zero, red belt, and practicing again and again and again. Okay? This is exactly what this verse says. O monks, while breath counting, the mind is focused. Then it is according to the right dharma. So what is according to the right dharma? When the mind is focused. We all know how do I know mind is focused? Because I'm able to complete my reverse counting. I'm able to complete my double count. I'm able to do something that I've been given. I know it is focused. If loose, then it is not according to the dharma. When the mind is loose, and we know how it is. I'm getting disturbed. I'm not able to complete the count. I'm not able to pay attention on the breath. I know my mind is loose. Then it is not according to dharma. Remember, this chapter is all about practicing the dharma. Okay. So now again, if you see practicing the dharma, we are talking about still the practice of anapana. While counting the breath, the mind should not fall into bad karma. Of course, that's what our aim is, that while you're counting the breath, we don't want the mind to get disturbed and fall into bad karma. We want the mind to go more calm and still and become the basis on which good karma can be done. When the mind attaches to the world, it falls into bad karma. Exactly. As soon as the mind attaches to a world. Now, when I say world, okay, world means anything that the 5 skandhas, remember, that are there. These 5 skandhas basically become the basis on which the world is created. So, you need to understand the 5 skandhas. Your 6 faculties, your 5 sense organs and your mind, they also make the world. So, if your mind holds on to anything of that sort, okay, and that means you're already into bad karma. O monks, while breath counting, do not lose concentration. Yeah, in Sunya, we can do that because we know the path, we know the way. Every time we lose concentration, we come back. So, the instruction here in MA says, O monk, while breath counting, do not lose concentration. And that one has to do it. When the mind is focused, then proceed to follow the breath. After you have achieved the state of samadhi in counting, the reverse counting, the double counting, only then proceed to following the breath. Realization of the mind can lead to samadhi. Once you realize that the mind is there and it's able to not get disturbed and not go away out of sight, is there and is able to focus, we will be automatically led to samadhi. Similarly, proceeding into the practice of, for mind focusing, observing, returning and cleansing. Then they are talking about the gates. Similarly, the same thing it should do. Once you are able to do your counting and you are able to achieve that state of focused mind and undisturbed mind in that level, then you move to the follow the breath. Once you are able to do that and you are able to focus your mind on that, then you do the same thing that same samadhi state, you carry it forward to your practice of mind focusing, observing, returning and cleansing. This is very important. So, O monks, a monk keeps practice until the mind becomes subtle. How long should you practice? People, this question is the most common question. How long should I practice? You know, how much should I eat? Till your hunger is over. How much should I practice? Till my mind is completely subtle, calm down. But if the mind goes astray, then stop the breath following, but repeat the breath counting and start the practice anew. After you have done your breath counting and you are going to breath following, and you realize your mind is again gone astray, then stop the breath following and go back to counting. You see, counting is our, you can say, a kind of a savior. Every time we lose our foot on any of the levels above, we come back to the basic to calm down the mind. And once you are able to calm down the mind, only a calm mind can help you to achieve samadhi. No other way. Please remember this. Why we are stressing so much on reverse counting is because that is the only way to calm down the mind. There is no other way. Okay. If after reading the sutra, okay, because as you advance in your practice, there is a point where you are asked to read a sutra to understand what it means and all those things. Meditate on it and the mind becomes subtle. Sometimes even by reading a sutra, meditating on it, the mind becomes subtle. You can skip the counting and practice the following the breath directly. When you know, you're sure that my mind, I'm reading the sutra, I'm able to focus, I'm able to understand, and I realize my mind is very subtle even while reading the sutra. You can skip the counting and go directly into following the breath. That means you can go directly into our, you can say, the yellow belt or the green belt practice, the higher belt practice. You can automatically go into that. Now, here reading the sutra is also symbolic about doing an act. For a monk, his job is to read the sutra because they are teachers. Similarly, in any work you do, if you know that your mind is subtle and stable and calm, then don't need to practice reverse counting. You can directly go into the following of the breath. Okay, remember this. So, a monk can practice breath counting to subdue the mind. So, now we know a reverse counting, a double counting is to subdue the mind, to calm the mind. When the mind is subdued, a monk shifts to follow the mind. After the mind is subdued, okay, the wild horse has been tamed down, then only you take it along with you. You follow the mind. Okay, remember this. First is to tame the wild horse, then you can carry it along. So, following the mind is post the mind being subdued. If the mind goes astray, then the monk repeats the breath counting again. As soon as the horse goes here and there, then the monk goes again brings it back. So, the same thing, when the mind goes astray, the monk again subdues it by reverse counting and double counting. O monks, a monk can practice freely breath counting and then breath following, or breath following and then breath counting, or breath counting and breath following concurrently. Now, it's up to you. Once you are practicing the red belt, yellow belt, orange belt, all these belts, when you're practicing, you can practice them one after the other. You can practice them one, the red can be practiced first and then your orange and then your yellow, or you can do your yellow and realize, no, I need to go to my orange and then do orange. No, I realize, no, I need to do my red. You do the flip-flop. You can do that together. Or you realize, wow, I'm able to do this. Now let me do 9 to 0. Let me do my 1 to 10. Okay, then let me do the observing of the breath. I can do it together also. It all depends on how you have acquired that stillness. And then a monk who can practice samatha freely and then vipassana, or vipassana and then samatha, or practices samatha vipassana concurrently. So, same thing. When you want to bring about a state of samadhi, you're practicing samatha, that's to stable down the mind. You can practice that specifically You can practice vipassana, observing the breath and specifically paying more attention towards it. Okay, flip-flopping between samatha and vipassana, or both together you can practice. Okay, so this is the way you practice the right dharma. And that is the practice of the right practice of Sunya also. So now, if you look at this, the practice the dharma goes very, very nicely with our practice of Sunya. And now you will realize that all of us who have been practicing Shunya for so long are exactly doing something that was taught 2500 years ago by the Buddha himself and passed down in written records through sutras like the MAS, and thanks to the translators like Anshekar and Dr. Lim, that we have access to that, not to study, but to validate and verify whether what we are doing is right or wrong. And when we look at it, it makes a lot of sense for us to hold on to our practice of red belt, orange belt, yellow belt, green belt. And we know that these 4 belts that form the basic samatha vipassana part of our practice of Shunya are very important to help us to achieve that state of samadhi. And once you are able to bring that stillness in practice, and you carry that stillness in your duty, in your work, in society, then you are actually experiencing life as it is. And when you experience life as it is, you see things as it is, and you know the power of vipassana. We saw how things arise, they sustain, and then they decay. And you saw that there is nothing to worry, because even if the good has come, we know it will not last long. It will someday go away, and we do not worry. Even the bad that has come, we know it is not going to last long, and someday it is going to go away, and we do not worry. Because we do not worry, we keep on doing a duty. And because we keep on doing a duty, I'm sure everybody will agree that prosperity knocks our door always and always. Because we are the working people, we are the people who are engaged in our duties, our responsibilities, in whatever role we play. So, this is a fantastic sutra, one of the sutras that I am started to passionately get too much attached to, because it matches with the practice that we do. And I'm sure people who have not watched the previous episodes, go back, watch all those episodes, compare that, analyze that, validate that with your practice, and improve yourself every day. So thank you so much for listening. We will see you next with chapter 6 of the MAS. Until then, keep practicing. Bye-bye.